Alumni in the room. Who would like to ask the first question to pick up on the topics that the princess has covered so far, or even from our panel members as well?
I can go first. Yeah, thank you. You talked about social enterprises and that it can be for the profit as well. And you coming from the royal family, it's always about the community welfare and to uplift the people of your uplift the people of Mewar. And I think I'm sorry.
No, please take your time. Think through the question.
Yeah. So previously in ancient times, it's always about the kingdom taking care of the people, uplifting them and everything. And now it's, as you said, it's about the corporates and it's in the responsibilities of the people who are in the power or who make money and everything. Being you running a private equity firm and taking care of your family office, how do you take care that the ethos of your Asian people, like taking care of the community, taking care of your community and everything. How do you take care of the social responsibility of the people through your investment, like through your investment office or the family office that you run?
I think that's an excellent question, and I'm going to be so happy answering it. And in fact, if I go on too long, you can tell me to stop. So let me start by giving you a bit of context. You know, everybody has this preconceived notion of royal families, right? And I really want to disabuse everybody from having this notion of a royal family. Royal families were nothing but first amongst equals, okay? We never, when I say we, I'm not talking about myself because I've just been immensely blessed to be born in this. I've done nothing to achieve the respect, adoration, or admiration of anybody until I earn it myself. So every morning I wake up wanting to earn that respect, not for me, but for my legacy, for what my ancestors did and achieved, right? That is the mindset they had as well back then, because they knew that if they did not have the love, respect, and reverence of their people, but for the right reasons, not via demanding it, by being first amongst equals, by making sure that they're about the people, because whatever you have it because people let you have it. Okay, and that is where everything started to, I guess, unravel when even royal families forgot that. And I will be the first to admit that mistakes have been made across many dynasties, right? And it all began with the, I guess, again, losing a sense of emotional and social consciousness, right? Which is, I think, critical, which was critical back then, and it's even more critical today. Now, to answer your question, and I'll try and make it quick, social responsibility can be tied into pragmatism and economics seamlessly, and that is what I've been a pragmatist my entire life. I am not some, jhola-toting NGO philanthropist, okay? And for the Australians who don't know what that is, I will explain later, okay? I'm a pragmatist first. I understand what economic wellness means, and I know it firsthand because our families lost everything, right? When the government reneged on their privy purse promises, none of us were used to working, especially not my ancestors and predecessors. They didn't know, they weren't entrepreneurs. They didn't know how to start a business, let alone run one, okay? And when it came down, everything being taken from being at the pinnacle of power, wealth, influence, and the center of the world to being absolutely marginalized in every possible way. That's a great downfall for any human being, forget about whether you're a royal family member or not. So pragmatism is something that needs to be inbuilt in everything we do. But what I'm advocating today is that while we can be pragmatic and we can be capitalist, which I am, right, we can also be socially responsible. How? Every time I make an investment or make an acquisition across my private equity platform, across our family offices, I will let go, if I have to, say 2 bips, 5 bips, 1% of economic return so that I can build something which is a not-for-profit and tie it into my investment in that area. So to explain that in a little bit more of a clearer way, if I invest in a warehouse or a manufacturing facility, okay, just to keep it basic, I don't do that generally, but the point is, if I was to do that, what we will do is we will go in and say, okay, this is our year-on-year, return. However, I will let go of 2%. If and in our term sheet, we mandate this, it's compulsory, they have to abide to it, that whatever we relinquish in terms of our earnings and our economic return has to be reinvested or has to be invested in building schools, better sanitation, healthcare, making sure there's a doctor in that particular rural area. Usually manufacturing facilities are in rural areas. And that funds the let's say the CSR aspect of it. So I'm not even taking your CSR allocation from you. It's not entirely a philanthropic endeavor either. I have to make sure my portfolio does well and that investment does well at any given point in time for me to make sure that I can sustain the philanthropic end. So that is what I mean, that you can tie in pragmatism and social responsibility. When it comes to social enterprise, that's not philanthropic at all. That is a for-profit industry. That is creating a circular economy, be it through renewable energy, through recycling, through creating a product that actually is part of the circular economy, that's making you an economic return, but is also creating a better space in the world for itself and as a benefit to the people. Does that sort of answer your question?
It does.
I would really love not to go on.
Were there any questions from our audience?
Hi, Jahnavi. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm not going to ask you any academic questions, but see, there's a debate going on. So when you say that you need to be socially responsible when you build something, or you need to have a CSR when you build something, as a business owners, a lot of people create jobs for the unemployed. That's one thing. And at the debate, a lot of business owners debate that when you create an employment for the unemployed or for underly societal people, isn't that a part of socially responsible thing?
Isn't that rationalization?
Yep. So my next question to you is, when you say that's rationalized, so when you want everyone to be involved in the social enterprise concept or build a social CSR activity, where do they have to start with? As a young entrepreneurs, as young students, what is the first step they have to start with?
So I'm not saying everybody has to be a social entrepreneur. What I'm saying is social enterprise is a blossoming sector. In fact, I wouldn't even say it's blossoming anymore if it's generating 200 trillion in revenue on an annual basis, right? I think it's pretty much well blossomed, right? But I'm saying that please consider educating yourselves in social enterprise. You could actually be the managing director of a company of that sort. You could be a middle management employee. You don't all have to be entrepreneurs, but excel in the fact and think about social enterprise as a way forward. Now, for example, there's a company that takes plastic, right? And they repurpose it and are turning it into bags. And the bags are fantastic. I have one, okay? So if I'm willing to carry one, but then again, I'm not very brand conscious, many people today are, but the point is that it is something that is that will sell, that will be used, right? Another simple example of that would be, look at the garbage crisis and the waste management crisis in India right now. Are any of you thinking at your very seasoned stage of education or as professionals about creating a solution, which is a for-profit solution, but it will impact our world as well in a better way? This is what I mean when I talk about social enterprise.
Thanks. Some really interesting context there, and I'm not actually going to ask a question. I'm just going to speak a little bit about the relevance of what you've said to our students. So we've got a group of students who are in very, very technology-focused careers, and I suspect many of them are saying, well, not sure where it fits. So you're starting out on your career. I'm going to give you a couple of little bits of history and then bring it all back together. Deakin started in 1974, so 50 years ago. That's probably about one working lifetime, pretty much, roughly. Technology point. In 1974, we saw the very, very beginning of general programmable computers. It was the very beginning. The context I'm making is if you could indeed buy something that had the computing power of your smartphone in your pocket in 1974, it would cost north of $1 billion US in 1974 dollars, let alone in 2024 dollars. So if you imagine your working lifetime, what technology that's currently billions to have an example of could be in just about everybody's pocket around the world. That is the power that education and innovation gives. But if you don't think about it with the context of how do we do that in a way that is sustainable and beneficial, you've got a problem. So that's my challenge back to you. My second point, and I won't talk for much longer, is how do we do this in a way that is socially responsible, that we harness the good that comes from everything that's going on, but not the harm? And what do I mean by that? Again, no apologies for being technology focused. 30 years ago, relevant for Deakin India, was pretty much the birth of the general internet. That has delivered the most extraordinarily good for humanity in terms of the democratization of knowledge, the ability for people in even the most remote, deprived communities to get access to services and resources that were undreamable of. But at the same time, it's produced the festering sewer that is much of social media out there at the moment. How do you start to shape all of this for good? And that is where this concept of social good comes in, because you're taking the best of what we've got, but putting a social lens on it. And I would argue, if you build your career, your companies around those, you can think about harnessing what might be possible, and it's truly extraordinary, but with a sense of democratizing knowledge that the internet has done, but not creating another festering sewer of social media out there. So I think there are some real technology focus that pick up your points as well there, which actually produce healthy, long-term sustainable companies.
May I just say, I think Ian has put it so brilliantly well, and I think he's contextualized it. And I know he's very good at this because he did this last time as well. Ian was brilliant in the roundtable at putting all my abstract thoughts together and recapping the whole roundtable discussion. And thank you, Ian. Can I be your intern? Can I clerk at your office?
Salary's terrible.
Oh, that's all right. I think I'm past that stage now. But please, please pay note and heed to what Ian has just mentioned, because this is exactly the point I've been trying to get across. And in fact, I will even go a step further and say technology is perhaps going to be the most significant anchoring force in creating better business models, more social good, better social enterprise models than perhaps any traditional sector. In fact, traditional sectors are the ones that need technology to be revolutionized or, let's say, restructured and re-engineered into enterprises that fit the world today and adapt to the world that we are going to see in the coming decades. It is where technology sits today. It is the anchor. It is where it is a catalyst for change, for social good, and for bettering our world. Even when it comes to something which would sound so remote otherwise, which is foreign policy. Technology as a non-state actor actually has the biggest part to play in geopolitics and foreign policy and economic policy and domestic policy. And if at all you're curious, please research it a little bit, because otherwise then we'll end up spending another hour here. So thank you, Ian, for helping me out.
I'm interested in Thank you. I'm interested in your thoughts, being in a seat of power and being able to, I guess, have a thought process for this country. We have the CSR thing about the 2% of your profits. That's one part, and there is a lot of work happening. There is a lot of contribution happening. But how do you see that the change in the mindset of people in India towards, I guess, this emotional connection and the social good connection to society for people that can make a difference? How do you see that sort of change over the last, say, 5 years? Is it rapid? Is it slow? What's your sense?
You really had to ask me a controversial question, didn't you, Ravneet? I mean, we couldn't just keep it simple and happy, could we? Okay. I think the change is minimal. It's negligible. I have nothing good to say about the pace of change, and the reason I chose this conversation today, or this conversation topic today, is because, again, we need to start at the grassroots level. This can't start in fact, yes, it should certainly be encouraged at this level of education or this stage of education, but it has to start at the grassroots at school. This has to become part of a holistic curriculum. Today, there is less love, kindness, compassion, and empathy in the world. There is less humanity. There is less emotional connection between parents and their kids, let alone anybody else. Our world is becoming more self-serving and self-absorbed as we speak. And this will not change until we change the way a child's mind and brain is conditioned, and that can only happen at the grassroots levels. And as far as, is there change? Yes, change is coming through, but we allowed the situation to become so dark. Again, I don't know whether I've already said this last time, because I just love this quote, and I came up with it all by myself, so I'm very proud of it. So dark, the con of man, it made you think of yourself more than others. That has become the world's culture today. With it all by myself, so I'm very proud of it. So dark, the levels. And as far as, is there change? Yes. Change is coming through, but we allowed the situation to become so dark. Again, I don't know whether I've already said this last time, because I just love this quote, and I came up with it all by myself, so I'm very proud of it. So dark, the con of man, it made you think of yourself more than others. That has become the world's culture today. And that is probably why 50% of the students were half asleep when I was talking, because they're just not interested. And it's not their fault. It's because they have not been, they've not been taught to resonate and connect with this sort of thought process. So today, when somebody talks along these lines, their interest level is probably -1, right? I don't know whether that answers your question, but that's just my little bit of a rant on it.
And I've got, very echoey. So my name is John Bolton, and I just want to chip in for a second and support Princess. So 12 years ago, I did my master's degree in social enterprise, actually, and it's just really refreshing to hear 12 years later. Back then, it was something very obscure to the side, and I'm very passionate about social enterprise and education, and so we'll talk about that at some point. But I just really want to encourage the students. Social enterprises are agile. They're all about innovation. And the topics that you're doing here and the subjects are absolutely applicable. There's lots of challenges around capital funding for these kinds of enterprises, and you guys could be part of the solution. The societal problems that we're seeing through COVID, coming out of COVID and before COVID, are just increasing. So the need and desire for social enterprises are absolutely imperative now, and will be more into the future. So please, I'm just really supporting what you're saying, but I'm just grinning ear to ear to finally hear someone talk passionately about this topic.
I look forward to it.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Professor Rajiv Sharma. I'm the head of the Department of Information Systems and Business Analytics. And in defense of the students, the half-asleep students, may I say that when I interacted with them at the orientation week, I asked how many of them are interested in having a startup at the end of this program, and about a third of the students raised their hands. Then I talked about some very basic issues around the world, around water, carbon, and I can tell you we had a very animated discussion in the class. So can I invite you that in week 2 or 3 of the next trimester, we hold a Shark Tank in which you are one of the sharks and the students pitch a social enterprise to you.
I would, if my schedule allows, I will come and participate, but as long as you don't call me a shark. You can call me like, Baloo the bear or something, I'll be
Absolutely,
happy.
whatever you prefer. So we will schedule it at your convenience. I'm sure we'll find some time suitable for the students and for you, and I will put it on my to-do list. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very kind, thank you.
My question is to Mr. Vice Chancellor. So, as students, we would like to know your experience in academics and what is that one thing we students would like to get from you, and what is your personal favorite experience in the university and overall academic performance? Thank you.
Just a little question. So my formal academic qualifications are in the areas of both medicine and education. But what shaped me is actually less those than a voracious appetite to learn from lots of other people and bring other expertise into the decisions you make, the information you gather. And I think I've probably benefited more from having an academic ability to interact with people from a very, very wide range of backgrounds than necessarily that formal qualification. The formal qualification is critically important. It's the ticket that gets you through the door. But the thing that makes the most of the journey is interacting with people from an incredibly wide range of backgrounds. I couldn't pull out one individual piece from 40 odd years of an academic career and say, that was the moment. But I think the moments have always come from, oh my goodness, your background is something I never thought I could learn something from, but that was just brilliant and it shaped me forever. And there have been multiple little moments like that along the way. And I come back to my last comment. I am in awe of what technology has achieved in my working career. And as I say, that working career has had the privilege of going from the very, very, very rudimentary computers that we had when I was at school, which were really rudimentary. I mean, 16 kilobits of RAM, thank you very much. I mean, you couldn't even write a program that could run in 16 KB. I could. All the way through to what we can do now. But my really big worry, and this comes back down to my slightly pejorative comments about social media, is increasingly people are disappearing into holes of their own very, very small world, limited by the particular things that are fascinating at the moment.